Hi, I'm Dr. Dave Janda. Welcome back to Operation Freedom Briefings. The goal of these briefings in my weekly radio show, Operation Freedom, which airs out of the People's Republic in Ann Arbor, Michigan through Wham Talk 1600 every Sunday from 2 to 5 Eastern, is to provide you information the bought-off lamestream fake media will never provide. Look, you can stream our radio show free of charge, of course. Go to davejanda.com, hit the Listen Live button in the upper right-hand corner. Tune in every Sunday, 2 to 5. Great guests, great analysis, information that I believe will benefit you on a daily basis. In addition, we have davejanda.com. We have a tremendous amount of public information we upload almost every day on davejanda.com. We also have a subscription service, biggest bang for the buck in the internet, 30 cents a day, where we deep dive on issues, go into issues with analysis that we just can't do in our segments on our radio show. I hope you'll join us at davejanda.com, public side, subscription side, join on. I want to talk about Trump, the New York Times, and the ongoing failed coup against a duly elected president of the United States. This past week, there were 2 shots fired across the bow to try to enhance the coup that's been occurring over the past couple years for Donald Trump and his administration. The first shot was fired by Bob Woodward, from Woodward and Bernstein fame, from taking down Nixon. Look, Woodward and Bernstein both have Nixon scalps on their belts. I get it. But if you think Bob Woodward was some little reporter who just happened onto a big story and met this dude deep throat, I believe that's fantasy. I believe Bob Woodward has been an operative of our intelligence agencies in our country from the get-go. And I believe Bob Woodward was now tasked to try to put in the air, because let's face it, the recount attempt at getting rid of Trump after he was elected didn't work. Calling the Electoral College into question didn't work. The fake Russian hack didn't work. The fake Russian dossier didn't work. Now they're focusing on, the 25th Amendment. He's mentally unstable. And this was pointed out in Woodward's book. The problem with Woodward is that his big sources have stepped away from him and said, we never said that stuff. General Mattis, General Kelly have stepped away. We've had Kevin Shipp, former CIA officer, one of his roles, he's a whistleblower now, one of his roles was to protect the director of the Central Intelligence Agency. At the time was Bill Casey. Bob Woodward wrote a book previously saying that he was with Bill Casey on his deathbed and got deathbed confessions from Bill Casey when Kevin Shipp, who protected Casey, said, we never let Woodward near him. Woodward, Shipp's words, this is fraudulent. So that started to blow up, as did the Stormy Daniels try and the Karen McDougal try and Trump's ex-attorney, the Cohen, that all. So now they're focused on the 25th Amendment. Well, now the Woodward thing, the first shot across the bow, didn't hit. So then they came in with this senior level official in the Trump administration wrote an anonymous op-ed in the New York Times. This is how Zero Hedge covered it. New York Times publishes anonymous op-ed by what appears to be a saboteur inside the Trump White House. Whoa, I bet you they weren't counting on that headline, saboteur. A senior White House official has published an anonymous op-ed in the New York Times titled, I am part of the resistance inside the Trump administration. I work for the president, but like-minded colleagues and I have vowed to thwart parts of his agenda and his worst inclinations. Several hours later, Zero Hedge followed up with another story. Trump's saboteur op-ed backfires now. The LA Times calls the person a coward. Greg Greenwald, the investigative journalist, not a Trump fan, calls this an unelected cabal. An op-ed written in the New York Times by an anonymous senior official in the Trump administration has drawn harsh rebuke from both sides of the aisle and beyond, after everyone from President Trump to Glenn Greenwald to the Los Angeles Times chimed in with various criticisms. The author, who claims to be actively working against Trump in collusion with other senior officials in what they call a, quote, resistance inside the Trump administration, end quote, has now been labeled everything from a coward to treasonous to non-existent. So while we don't know who wrote the op-ed, it appears to be backfiring spectacularly on its author and wild theories and harsh rebuke from all sides of the aisle. Now look, I have spent time in D.C. Initially, I started working on healthcare policy with C. Everett Koop, who was with the Reagan administration, did a little bit of policy work, not that they ever listened, for Bush 1, Bush 2, Clinton. Senior level official. I know it sounds like, whoa, this is the vice president, this is a cabinet secretary. No. Senior level officials could be hundreds, if not thousands of people. Hundreds of people work in the West Wing of the White House and also the adjacent building, the old executive office building. They're all considered senior level officials. There has been this rumor that Pence is the person who authored this anonymous op-ed. That there was a word in there, lodestar, that Pence has used, and this was the tip-off that it was Pence. Now look, I'm not a fan of Pence. I don't like Pence. I don't trust Pence. Why? Because there is something in him and his presentations that reminds me of a number of other folks I came in contact with in D.C. whom I found to be bad players. So I am not the first person that would step forward and defend Pence. I'm under any circumstance. I believe Pence did not write this. I believe this was written by either an Obama holdover or a never-Trumper, someone who has some ties somehow into the intelligence agencies in our country. Because when I read this, it has an intelligence agency vibe to it. And I believe the purpose of this op-ed was a psyops, to hopefully get Trump to circle the wagons and start shooting willy-nilly and potentially shoot a number of people in his administration who were in fact loyal to him. What's interesting with this op-ed is it actually helps Trump. And the reason why I say that is the following. They tried to paint him as being unstable in this letter, just like Woodward did, and that failed. But remember, the New York Times has gone on record in saying Trump is unstable because he believes there's a deep state. That's conspiracy theory. He believes there's people actively involved in his administration that want to get rid of him and stop his policies and agenda. And that's exactly what this letter says. That there are people, there's a resistance movement, quote unquote, that is within the Trump administration that's trying to help thwart, block his agenda and his efforts. It supports everything that Trump has said, yet the bought-off lamestream fake media, including the New York Times and the Washington Post, it says Trump he's losing it if he thinks there's really a deep state, especially if he really thinks that there's some people in his administration trying to undermine him. This supports it. And the fact that the New York Times would print an unsubstantiated, anonymous letter as a featured op-ed. And by the way, the New York Times has actually walked back some things. They've said actually, well, this source that was the anonymous source that wrote this this actually came through an intermediary, which makes it even worse. The Times published something that came from an intermediary from an anonymous source that reportedly is in the Trump administration. Trump has made a statement repetitively that the enemy of the people of our country, of America, of Americans, is the media. And they said he's unstable for saying that. This is inappropriate. Well, wait a minute. This is another attempt at a coup by publishing this unsubstantiated op-ed by the New York Times. And it actually supports Trump. So what do I think is really going on here? I believe it is someone that is either a never-Trumper or an Obama holdover, and possibly a small group of these people. And I believe that if they truly are trying to undermine the president and the agenda and his policies, that could well be treasonous. These people could well be guilty of sedition. And so could the people at the New York Times. Who did this? I have an idea. I've done a lot of research on this over the past several days. I don't believe it's Trump. It's Pence. I've said that. I'm not a fan of him. I get a lot of heat for coming down on him, for really hammering him. I don't think it's Pence. I think it's somebody or somebodies in the National Security Council that either have a predilection to being a never-Trumpers or Obama acolytes. My research has pointed me in a particular direction. There are some folks that work in the White House that are members of the Council on Foreign Relations, a globalist think tank. There are some individuals that have some ties to the Brookings Institute, another globalist affiliate organization. And there's an individual I'm aware of who actually has some ties to George Soros and his Open Society. And this individual in the past has also been critical of Trump. Let's watch and let's see what happens. The people I know in Washington who have been around for decades, who I've come to trust and know behind the curtain, I ran this by them. And they believe that there are some former Obama individuals, staff, that helped nurture this story. I also believe the New York Times juiced the information that was given to them to make it seem more sensational. Not hard to believe. I mean, remember, they have somebody on their editorial board that they just appointed, Sarah Jung, I believe is her name. And she said in the past, she, quote, hates old white men, end quote. Well, I'm an old white guy. Thanks very much, Sarah, for passing that judgment on me, and you've never spoken to me or met me. But so is Donald Trump. He's old, he's white, and he's a guy. That's a member of their editorial board. Also, there are some folks at the White House that have an affiliation with the New York Times and have in the past. So I believe that there are players like David Axelrod and Valerie Jarrett who had a role in this op-ed coming to the New York Times. But the person inside the administration, and I believe there are several of them that are behind this letter, but I believe one of the primetime movers on this is a person by the name of Fiona Hill. She has been critical of President Trump. She has been critical of his policies. And when you read this letter, there is significant criticism of Donald Trump negotiating with Vladimir Putin and Kim in North Korea, that he embraces these dictators. I don't think Donald Trump embraces these dictators. I believe he's putting the welfare of our country and the world ahead of the past histories of these individuals. They're not good guys. I don't think Trump ever said they were great guys. But they run their respective countries. And both of them potentially can cause a holocaust across the world. There are times you have to meet with people and do business with people that you would prefer not, but it's for the greater good. What's the downside of Trump negotiating with Putin? A nuclear event doesn't occur? I see that as a positive. I know globalists, the deep state, see that as a negative because they're all about mass destruction and chaos and killing and warfare because that's their business model. What's the downside of negotiating with Kim? Preventing a nuclear holocaust? I see that as a good. Folks, I hope you'll join us at davejanda.com, our public site, our subscription site. Join us for our radio show every Sunday from 2 to 5 Eastern. Dial in. Just hit that listen live button at davejanda.com. It's free. I hope you'll become a subscriber. 30 cents a day, biggest bang for the buck, where we deep dive on issues that you'll never see here reported on the bought-off lamestream fake media. Until next time, this is Dave Janda signing off. Dream big and dare to fail.